Hey everybody, welcome to Sunday Slowdown at J&J Acres, and we are thrilled to spend this hour with you. If for some reason you are stumbling onto our live show for the first time, we are a small family homestead in East Central Mississippi. We like to do gardening, we like to hunt, we like to fix things, we do all sorts of different things, and we like to share it with all of you on YouTube. We do this live show as a part of thehomesteadnetwork.com. There are a host, just a wide variety of YouTube channels, everything from preparedness channels, survival channels, gardening channels, homesteading channels, all sorts of little genres that are all interconnected, participating to provide you with live YouTube content so you can watch YouTube and see things of like-minded people rather than watching regular cable television. So, thank you for being a part of the show with us tonight. And before I forget, if anybody knows about Dutch homesteading with Dutch, he normally follows us. If he will be following us again tonight, I hope that you will head over to his channel at the conclusion of our live show. So that's Homesteading with Dutch. Alright, see, now if I put it up front like that, I can remember. I think I ought to do that. I think that's the way Tommy does it over at Alderman Farms. He mentions everybody at the very beginning.
We just get into so much of a rush at the end that it's, oh shoot, yep. It's 9 o'clock, we need to end.
Yep, and then I forget, and then I feel bad.
Please let me apologize right now for being a little bit quieter today. I am actually running a pretty bad migraine tonight, so I'm here, but I'm not.
There you go. Alright, so in an effort to help with that, I'm popping out the chat myself to
Donna
make sure.
says she heard he changed his name.
Okay.
Let me hop over onto homesteading.
You can't. They've taken that page down for a variety of reasons. So I'm not sure. But if somebody knows about homesteading with the Dutch, please share that with the group.
Kicking with Dutch.
Okay. I don't even know what that means. But, alright. Oh, kicking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, kicking with Dutch.
I see it. Keeping it Dutch. Kicking Dutch.
Keeping it Dutch.
Something. There is a channel with a guy named Dutch, and you ought to go check it out when our show's over. Alright, so before we talk about Dutch for the whole hour, which I'm sure he'd appreciate, let's get over into our show. So, we had an interesting week. I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not.
Everyone's agreeing that it's keeping.
Okay.
Keeping it Dutch.
Keeping it Dutch?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's kind of a unique thing. But anyway, our week really started with me going back into the hospital. Now, before you run away, I don't want to spend even a half an hour, because we've done that before. Or I've talked for a half an hour about my medical problems. And I don't want to do that. And then now I'm going to drop the bomb on you, and you're going to want me to talk for a half an hour about it. So, Jennifer, if there are just some stellar questions, I'll try to graze through them as quickly as I can. But yes, I don't want to get hung up on this, folks. Here is the very short version of the story. On Sunday, we were very, very busy. We did lots and lots of work out on the property. We had a very productive day, as we told you last live show. On Monday morning, I wake up, I'm feeling good. Shower, dress, go to work. And at about 9 o'clock in the morning, I took a break out on the front, or on the patio of the work there. And I went to walk from one side of the patio to the other, which you're talking about a stoop, really, is all this is. It's like 4 feet. And I started getting very, very lightheaded, very, very dizzy, and started sweating profusely. On my way back to where I was originally standing, I decided to squat down and kind of catch my bearings and my breath. And one of my coworkers that was out there with me informs me that I just went stark pale. Just all the blood went out of my face. I just went sheet white. And after about 10-15 seconds, I started to feel better. Felt like it was the episode was going to pass, and I stood up. Now, a couple things to note for the story. When I say I was standing in the first place before I started walking, I wasn't standing lock-kneed or anything like that. I was leaning up against a brick wall, which is just habit for me when I'm out on the patio. And when I stood up, it wasn't like I was trying to be a rocket. I just slowly elevated myself. Either way, when I became fully erect, when I was totally standing up, according to both of my friends that were out there with me, my co-workers, I completely went blacked out. For about 5 to 10 seconds, they were supporting me, and I came back to and was totally disoriented. They told me what happened, said, "Jared, you just blacked out for about 5-10 seconds. You need to sit down. Let us help you sit down." And so I gradually lowered my bottom down onto the patio, and immediately became extremely nauseous. Never produced anything, but my body went through the motions to try, and it was just a horrible, horrendous feeling and experience. Now, all of this was on the patio of the 911 center where I work. So a dispatcher had already seen what took place, and before I was able to say, "Don't call an ambulance," which I did say a couple times, an ambulance had already been dispatched. So an ambulance got there. They strapped me down.
Checked your blood pressure, blood sugar.
Well, yeah, check my blood sugar, check my blood pressure, hooked me up to EKG, all that good stuff. Got me into the ambulance and got me to the hospital. And the next 3 days, including the same day, went through numerous EKGs, a CAT scan of my head, went through the echocardiogram. Well, first I went through a stress test with the radiological contrast in it. So I ran on the treadmill. Had the echocardiogram. I had ultrasounds taken of my carotid arteries. I had all the blood tests you could imagine. I had to stay in bed. Y'all, they put a darn... I didn't even know this was a thing in hospitals, but because I passed out, they put a alarm on my bed, or the beds automatically have alarms and they have to turn it on. I could not get out of bed, and one time all I did was try to shift my weight around and the bed went off. I mean, it was really just annoying. I get it. If I get out of bed and I fall and I crack my head open, things are worse, but it was really annoying to be told you're not allowed out of bed, and we're going to put an alarm on just to make sure that you actually do it. Had chest x-rays taken. I forget what they call it, orthoscopic or some kind of special test where they do your blood pressure, where you got to lay down, sit up, and then stand up, and they take your blood pressure each time and whatever else. So here's the, and then at the end of the week, and just to be sure, we also had the heart cath. So every bloody test that they could think to administer got done. And here's the end results. My heart, well, you actually remember the doctor saying this. So how did the cardiologist that did the heart cath explain my condition?
He said that your heart is strong, your arteries are clear.
So there you are. So I don't know what that means. I would have expected something to be found in my arteries, with them complaining about how bad my good cholesterol is and my how bad my triglycerides are and all that kind of stuff. I would have expected for them to say, yeah, there was some plaque in your artery, but no blockages or something like that, you know. But something. I would have expected something. But for all intents and purposes, for everything the cardiologist and all those different tests can show, my cardiovascular system is an ox. It doesn't feel that way, but supposedly it is. They also say that the passing out was a vasovagal. In other words, a fancy doctor term for you fainted. And they got no better explanation for it. You know, dozens of causes for it, but no. They knew what to call it. They knew to say, "Oh, it's a vasovagal episode," and they just blow off like the doctor's acting like he, told you something when all he did is say you passed out, but he still doesn't know why. So there's lots of theories. One is that I was on too much blood pressure medicine since my heart was not an actual issue, as far as anybody can tell. Y'all remember from before I said that I was having pain in my chest, and so the doctor prescribed an angina medicine.
Angina?
Well, I pronounce it angina, but I guess that's too close to other things for some people, and so every doctor and nurse I talked to pronounced it angina.
Okay.
So, I don't know. But anyway, had prescribed me a pain medicine specifically for that, but that also acts as a blood pressure medicine. It reduces your blood pressure. So the thought is that it may have been a contributing issue to why I passed out. Y'all, I have never passed out. That's the first time ever in my life that I know of that I ever passed out. And it was the most disorienting and confusing thing. I went from knowing that I was trying to stand up to all of a sudden having two people holding me up. I mean, it was just like, wait, what? Very confusing, very disorienting situation.
Scores 28-9 Falcons.
Okay. And I got no answers. Now, I go back to the doctor on Tuesday. I have been told to stop taking that second blood pressure medicine. I have been told to start taking a prescription strength anti-inflammatory medicine, which is really the doctor just throwing medicine at me to see whether or not it helps. And that is to see whether or not I am experiencing chest wall pain, as if there's something muscular going on that they can't see. The other medicine being thrown at me thing is for acid reflux. It is possible that I'm experiencing acid reflux, and so they're having me take a prescription level amount of Prilosec. So now it's really strange to me, and it's hard for me to fathom, but I've got good people who I trust, kind of like the person you'd have in your foxhole kind of people, telling me that even though your esophagus is here in the middle of your chest wall, that you can experience the pain just about anywhere because of the way the nerves run. So even though I was experiencing pain, that's kind of the punchline, is I'm currently not today. I've been pain-free all day, so that's good news. But I was experiencing the pain down over here, and I would feel it radiate to up on my shoulder, sometimes just a little up my neck, sometimes just a little over onto my right, but all the time over here. And so it's possible that all of this nonsense is acid reflux, which it would just, in one way, make me want to beat my head against the wall. But it would seem, if that's true, then what it means is when I went to the doctor, or when I went to the ER in December and told them I was having chest pain, and they found out that my blood pressure was high, that they grabbed onto that one statistic and ran with it and said that every single thing I was having was because of high blood pressure and something cardiovascular related, when it wasn't. So at least that's the potential. But anyway, so right now I'm taking a Prilosec, I'm taking a anti-inflammatory, I'm still taking the Lipitor for the cholesterol and the triglycerides, and I am taking the first, not the very first. I'm taking the medicine that was specifically prescribed for blood pressure, not for the angina pain. So I am still on a blood pressure medicine, and we'll kind of go from there. So that's 15 minutes. That wasn't half the show, so I feel a little bit better about that. Are there any pressing questions I need to answer? Because I'm sure
Nope.
there are a million different ways to talk about this, and I'm sure everybody's got a story on the pain and all that kind of stuff and what you might think. So I do have a follow-up with the regular doctor on Tuesday. Interestingly enough, I tried to get a follow-up appointment with the cardiologist to get them to explain some things further.
He simply rubbed it off, waved it off. I talked to your wife, and you, even when he was passed out.
Well, I talked to, of course, the people that make the appointments at the cardiologist's office, and I told them, hey, I just had a heart cath done. I'd like to get a follow-up. I have some questions. And they said, well, normally the nurse's station would schedule the follow-up. I said, okay, fine. So I contact the nurse's station, and the nurse's station tells me that they did not, that it wasn't in there for me to get a follow-up with the cardiologist, presumably because the test was, you're fine. But I have questions that I want answers to. So I have to go to my regular doctor first and then get her to schedule a referral to the cardiologist so I can get some more information about the heart cath I went through. So anyway, that's where things kind of stand. But as of today, I felt fine. I was up early, spent a couple hours on the tractor doing some work on our pathetic driveway. Done a whole bunch of work around the house yesterday, did a whole bunch of work inside today, and the end result of all of that is I think that right this minute I have more videos than there are days in the week next week.
Well, that's good, but you're not putting them all out next week, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm going to schedule them because there's always something might come up, and I'll some of the videos will get pushed back. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in the future. So, let's see. All right. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys saw last week on YouTube. If I can. Okay. Last week was a fairly slow week. You saw us planting the strawberries, and you saw the raspberry canes. Yeah, that's it so far. Good heavens, I already have one video scheduled besides all the ones I've been. I definitely have more videos ready to go out this week than there are days in the week. Okay. So, the strawberries being planted. I want to give you some additional thoughts on that. Obviously, the camera just got set up while Jennifer planted, and then I ended up voicing over it later. So here's our thinking on that. You know that the bed makes an L shape. One side faces the south, so it's going to get sun all day long. The other side is what would be on the east side of the deck. So after lunchtime-ish, it's going to be in the shade. So what we thought we would do is rather than put all of just one variety throughout the whole thing, or all of one variety in one part of the L and another variety in the other part of the L, we thought we would conduct our own little experiment. I told you in the video that both of these varieties are recommended by Mississippi State University with the Extension Service, and they're also just generally known as good varieties in our part of the country. So we felt good about going with the varieties that we were going with, but what we did was plant one on the outside all the way around and one on the inside all the way around. So in other words, both varieties are in the shade and both varieties are in the sun. And we kind of like that because I think one of two things are going to happen. Either we're going to get some different seasons on both of those areas, so like the area with the less sun might develop a little later than the area with full sun. Or we might see that one variety outperforms the other in the shade. Maybe one variety does terrible in the shade while the other one does fairly well. Or vice versa. Maybe one does not like total sunlight where the other one thrives in it. That is not information that is generally provided to that level of detail per species, per cultivar. So what we can do in the future is we will take the babies that come off of these plants and we can always replant them around. When I was down at Deep South Homestead, Danny was talking to me about how he cares for his strawberry beds. And basically, he leaves a plant in for 3 years, At the end of its third season, he takes it out. He says it's not going to produce enough strawberries anymore for him to worry about. Now, he doesn't sit there and tag each plant or anything crazy intensive like that. He just knows from the size of the plant and how big the crown is that that's a 3-year-old plant. And so he'll take out the 3-year-old plants, those go to the compost bin, and then the 1 and 2 year plants get set back up nicely and ready for the next season. And we will do the same thing. At the end of the year, we can clean things out, refresh the soil, and if we see that anything needs to get replanted in a different way from the results we were getting during the year, then that will be the time that we get to do that. So that's just about it for the strawberry bed. Now there is a video coming out next week where I do plant something else in the same raised bed system, so keep an eye out for that. It's not a big deal, but it is a fun little video to share with you guys. And the next video for the series about the raised beds are either going to be, at this rate, it's going to be harvesting. Because we already have actual strawberries growing. It's just crazy. The only thing we've ever done is covered them with plastic when the weather got, when it was expected to be a hard freeze. And then we take the plastic back off by about 8 or 9 in the morning. Thank you. And go from there. So that's all we've done, besides watering, fertilizing. But the strawberries are growing, so we'll see where that goes from there. I'm not sure who that was from, but one viewer asks, placing a plant of any age in compost, won't it just continue to grow? Well, I guess that depends on a lot of things. Did you turn the compost so it's good and buried? Is it a hot compost or a cold compost? But I mean, that's where you get your volunteer tomatoes and your volunteer squashes from usually, isn't it? Because something gets thrown in there, like a squash that didn't quite ripen all the way, or got some bug damage, or a tomato that went bad before you got to it, or something like that. You throw it in the compost, and then later, the next season, all of a sudden you get a tomato plant growing out of the top of your compost pile. So, but I would say that knowing Danny and Wanda, that's their life. So if he's putting a plant in compost, it's probably getting turned over, or probably has even more material just dumped on it by the next day, that it wouldn't be a big problem. So,
Silver Moon Acres says the 3-year-old plants he can always give away so that someone else can get baby plants off them.
And he probably does. They've had a lot of visitors, I know, especially in the last several months down there at Deep South Homestead. So he might do something like that as well, and I just didn't know. That was probably a 5-10 minute conversation that we had. I'm sure I didn't get the whole story about everything he does with his strawberries. So, the next thing coming out, unless we have a harvest, is going to be us putting in the drip irrigation. I do want to put a line of drip irrigation down the center of that thing, especially with the south-facing bed. I am worried that it will dry out too quickly. So there is a access to water about 20 feet away. And what I want to do is develop a small little irrigation system that will go to the citrus plants and that little garden bed, and then down the raised bed for the strawberries. So that'll be the next one to develop, and I don't know when I'm going to do that.
Bob Homestead wants to know if we think we're going to get strawberries this year.
I am positive.
I'm positive we're going to get strawberries in the next month.
I am positive we will have strawberries this year. Alright, so let's see, what else here? We also talked about the propagating of raspberry canes. So the one thing I wish we could have done differently in that video, and I didn't even mention it, was when I took the cuttings and I put them down into the containers, the deep rooted pots. I wish I had rooting hormone available just to help spur that along. Now, it is not generally considered necessary. For doing that, especially with something like a raspberry or blackberry cane. They tend to want to grow. But I'd have felt better if I had had it.
That's not what I meant.
And we just can't find it. I mean, I went through everything. Jennifer went through everything. I sent Brandon to go through everything. And out of all the stuff for my gardening stuff, I have no idea where my jar of root hormone went to. So next time we're over there at the store, I'm going to have to get me a new jar of rooting hormone. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how they go. There's really nothing more I can tell you about those. I already told you in the video that just came from a factual. I was out there trimming, and I went to trim some grass, and all of a sudden it whipped up a cane at me. And I'm like, just kind of took a step back and didn't know why in the world there was a cane 3 feet away from where it should have been, because it kind of like jumped a swale to get to the north side of the swale. And realized that cane had started to put off roots, and I said, hey, I got to do something about this right now and get it in the ground, try to get some more of these raspberries growing. So but there we go. We'll see how they are. The soil that they were put into, if you look at the video, you'll see that the containers sit inside of a utility bin or a masonry bin or a concrete bin. It has a bunch of different names. So the soil should stay moist, and hopefully just moist enough for it to spur growth and not rot or anything like that. Speaking about the irrigation, one question here: will you use a leach line for irrigation? No, I'm going to come right off of the regular municipal water. I'm not going to use a leach line for it.
28-12 Falcons, 10 minutes left in the game.
Oh, thank you. All right, so that does it for videos from last week. Now, I don't have all of the videos for next week compiled, so I'm not really even sure which videos are going to come out next week. Oh, excuse me.
Don't do that.
I should have started the episode by saying, I know I'm going to yawn today, people. But that's just a standard thing these days, isn't it?
That's why this is the slowdown.
Well, I can tell you one video. No kidding. I can tell you one video I know will come out. This is a video that's kind of funny. The title of it is "This Happens Every Time." So that's me talking about changes in gardening season. It's something that happens to me every time with the change in the gardening season. And I wanted to share it with you and see if you guys experience the same kind of, I don't know, it's not really an issue. It's a good thing and a funny thing. But anyway, check that out. I also know this is going to go out. And most people, especially if you're avid viewers and you were watching other channels earlier tonight, then you know that this box was shipped from Tommy and Patty Alderman. Sorry, Patty. I talk to Tommy much more than I do Patty, so that's a bad habit I get myself into sometimes. So I know that video will come out, and you'll get to see what I took out of the box, what I put into the box, and who the box is going to next. So keep an eye out for that. I think you will at least enjoy seeing what I'm putting into the box. It's one thing to know what I take out, whoopee-doo. If you watch the other videos, you know what's already in it, and so what I take out isn't near as fun to figure out what am I going to put in. And I like to think I added some diversity into there, so and something very special. So make sure you watch that whole video. It's a long one, so make sure you watch the whole thing, because toward the back, like get 80% through the video, is where I add in the last thing into the box, and it's kind of a special thing, I think. So let's see what else will come out next week. Tracy and Arthur shot a video today. I won't tell you what it's about, but it will be a video. I just don't know if it's going to come out this week or next week. We shot a video about the community garden, and that includes the other planting that was in those raised beds. So that could come out this week.
Y'all need to stop talking about yawning in the chat. You're making me sleepy. Every time I see it, I want to do it.
Please don't let my please don't let my poor wife fall asleep. It's just gonna make I won't be able to keep up with y'all if she falls asleep. This will get really boring really quick. Let's see, what else did we shoot videos about? I shot a video about apple cider vinegar, and I shot a video about kombucha, I don't know. You know that drink. Shot a video about that. And
come on, baby, let my... Sorry.
I don't know. I'm sure there's others. It feels like there's at least one more. But either way, lots of videos coming out. And it's really just that season. I don't know about anybody else, but if you're a YouTube creator in this genre, winter, you're kind of searching for things to share.
Alderman Farms is here.
Good to see you, Patty Tommy. But now that we're gearing up, and it's, you know, in my climate, this is springtime. You know, we've put in peas. We put in peas. We've already got strawberries growing. We're going to be putting in potatoes. We already put in more carrots. The winter garden's still growing. But it's ramp up time. And if y'all were following the channel months ago, then you know that there's just times of seasons where we're pumping out like 4 videos a week just because we can't keep up with it. You know, there's that much activity going on, and then there's lulls, and we have to, you know, kind of figure out how to get through the drought of videos, because we're either just waiting for things to grow or waiting for growing season to come back around. So it's pretty busy. Have a good night, Southern Lady.
Jeff Elkins would like to know if we can do more Minecraft videos. I'm gonna have to talk to Brandon about that.
Yeah, I probably won't. You know, I don't know a better way to answer that. You know, to me, it's family. It's you know, us and the kids playing together, and Jennifer's right. It's got homeschooling in there. But that's not what we've built this channel around for the last 4 years, and I don't want to turn off a bunch of people or confuse them because one day I'm playing a video game and then the next day we're talking about permaculture or we're slaughtering a pig or something like that. And you know, I think it would need its own channel if we were to do that, and I'm not up for maintaining another channel. But perhaps someone like Brandon, our oldest son, will take up that cause and do something. But at the same time, he wants a more powerful computer to do the video processing, and that's not in the budget right now. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't really expect that I will probably ever put another Minecraft video on J&J Acres. That was like a one-time funny thing to share with everybody.
Now, saying it won't happen...
I just don't see it happening.
Right.
Anything else I'm missing?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
When was the last time you checked the deer field?
I didn't get out there today. Normally that's a Sunday morning thing, but when I first woke up this morning, I had promised my wife I would work on our driveway if the rain hadn't come yet, and it had barely sprinkled. So I woke up and I spent 2 hours working on the driveway, and then came in, got some breakfast, and got tied up in other projects, and never got out to the deer field. So when was the last time? A week ago today. Was the last time I got out there. So I want to tell you, I told you about my bad time this week and me being stuck in the hospital for 3 days. The worst part about the entire thing was Wednesday. Wednesday was Jennifer's birthday. Mm-hmm. She's 21, y'all. Legal finally. No?
No.
No, okay.
I'm 36. No shame about my age.
No. So not only was it her birthday, that was the day I was scheduled to have my heart catheter. Not only was it her birthday and the day I was scheduled to have my heart catheter, but she had to be in Jackson, Mississippi, an hour and a half away for a cannot miss appointment with the Department of Veteran Affairs. And not only all of that, but her appointment with the VA was for her to start up an immunotherapy treatment. In other words, the VA was purposefully poisoning her to try to boost her immunity against grass allergies so that maybe this next season allergies don't cause her to have even more migraines.
Which, by the way, is probably the reason I'm having a migraine today.
Yeah. So here's my wife possibly going into anaphylactic shock out in the VA. Here's me an hour and a half away, potentially having to have, more than just a heart cath. Heaven forbid they go in there and find out they need to do a bypass or something ridiculous. So it was an all around together bad perfect storm. Now there is a glimmer of hope here. My heart cath was early enough in the morning that Jennifer was able to be in the hospital for the heart cath.
They finished it an hour before I had to leave.
And since my heart was strong and my arteries were clear, nothing else had to be done. So she was able to leave for Jackson knowing I was okay. A very dear friend of ours then took over husband babysitting duty. And she came over and sat in the hospital with me.
There's a reason for it, though. He was still out of it and wasn't allowed to move. And there were several times, for like 2 hours, you weren't allowed to move. And there were several times where I had to remind you, don't move.
Yes, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was also really nice because then, should I still be out of it, Jennifer could contact our friend and let her know how she's doing in Jackson. So when I wake up and say, "How's my wife?" I had an answer.
Yep.
So it all worked out really well. And then since then, we had to catch up on Jennifer's birthday because Jennifer's birthday does not get missed.
No, it doesn't. Not since the one year you purposefully missed it, and then I turned around and purposefully missed yours.
I purposefully missed your birthday?
Well, you kind of... You gave me a present, but that was it.
I didn't make any to-do about your birthday.
Right. No. Because you were of the opinion that birthdays were no big deal until the same year I gave you what you were wanting for your birthday, for it to be ignored.
Mm-hmm. And realized I missed the pomp and circumstance.
Mm-hmm. He's never missed it again.
To the point, I went to work on Thursday and Friday. Spent half days. I got in there, got some, I run the darn department. So at some point, there's things that have to at least have my signature. I got a great team. People can run that place without me being around, I assure you. But at some point, something needs Jared's signature. Some kind of approval. And I went in and... when I started to feel very sleepy, because that was really what the problem was. I wasn't in pain. It was just wore out. And I've never in my life fallen asleep at work. And so when I feel like I get to that point where I was about to fall asleep at work, I said, okay, before it's not safe to drive home, Jared's leaving. And so I left and snuck by a grocery store and then parked off... away from the house, not like, next door away from the house, but so that me driving home didn't catch anybody's attention. Snuck in the back door, managed to keep all the kids quiet, and I had a birthday cake and ice cream for Jennifer, and got the candles lit, and then told Brandon to go get Mommy and say, "Mommy, is there something in the kitchen? I don't know what it is. I really need you to look at it." And sure enough, she came in there and saw a candle. It's our cake.
And then he comes out from around the corner.
So So that was nice. I wish I had been able to get all of her friends together and had an actual birthday party for her, but
at the same time, on Tuesday, I had one friend take me out or meet me out for lunch, and then on Wednesday, I had a friend drive with me to Jackson, and we went out to lunch, and then, what was it?
20-28 with 6 minutes in the game. Y'all,
Wow.
I really don't care who wins, but y'all cannot have that big of a lead and let Tom Brady win. For one reason, I've already seen enough deflated ball memes on Facebook since halftime. I don't need to hear about how Tom Brady went around during halftime and deflated all the balls and that's the only reason they won. I really don't. Just don't let them win, okay? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Your friend took you out to lunch.
And we went with your sister to dinner last Friday. So I did get 3 separate parties there. Then you brought home cake. Then Friday night you took me out to dinner and we went to pool afterwards. And then on Saturday we went to go have lunch and see a movie and some shopping and stuff and pushing you around.
Yeah, I tell you, folks, where was... Okay, we went and saw that movie, which, before anybody says that there's reasons to boycott this movie, research things.
There really isn't.
There really isn't. It was fake. We went and saw A Dog's Purpose. And in that movie... somebody gets hurt and then turns on their significant other because they don't want all the attention the significant other is giving them. Y'all let them do it. We went to the mall where the movie theater is. We had a couple hours left we had about an hour left before the movie started, and Jennifer wanted to walk around the mall, but I wasn't up for that. It was already halfway through the day. I was feeling very tired already, and I certainly, with the incision from the heart cath, I did not want to walk around for an hour. So Jennifer found out that our mall has wheelchairs for free available. You just got to call security and get them to unlock them. So we waited around for 5-10 minutes. Security unlocked them, and then for the next hour, my wife pushed me around the mall. Mm-hmm. And on one side, it's embarrassing because here I am, an able-bodied man in the prime of his life, so to speak, age-wise, and getting stared at by people. I don't have any clear disability about me, and so I keep getting people to look at me and like they're trying to figure out why is that guy in a wheelchair. So it's a bit humiliating. But on the other side, knowing that I have a wife who could care less. And the only thing she wants is my company and to spend time with me. And she's willing to push me around and deal with overcrowded stores with small aisleways and things like that aren't really set up for handicap access very well.
Yeah, no.
And help me.
They didn't have any electric ones. They only had the push-around ones at our mall.
Yeah. So anyway, did we make up for your birthday?
Most definitely.
Good. All right. I did my job. Y'all been doing your jobs? All right. Let's see. We got about 10 minutes-ish or a little bit more in the show. What have y'all been talking about over there?
Mr. Rain has half a kettle in his freezer.
It's a big freezer.
It is.
Or it was a small cattle. I don't know.
That's funny.
Yeah. Weecher is right. I'm very blessed. I found the diamond in the rough, and I ain't gonna let nobody else have her.
I have a secret. He's the diamond in the rough, not me.
There you go. And that's what makes a good marriage. Somebody steal this video, take that 30 seconds, and develop an entire long hour lecture about how marriages are supposed to work. You'll make tons of money and shake my hand someday and say thanks for the advice, and I'll be happy.
We could probably, in the 15 years we've been together, probably count on one hand how many knockdown, drag-out fights we have actually had.
Probably even if we had several fingers amputated.
Probably. You can probably only remember one of them.
Probably.
Is that knife from one of those Homestead boxes?
It is, and we will do videos about those in a couple months. I am not going to do a video on them until I can review the system over a period of months and talk about them. But this knife in particular is interesting. The more I handle it, the more I carry it around, the more it grows on me. Normally, of course, the knife I normally carry, I don't have it on me because I've got this one. It is much smaller and thin, but something about this is growing on me, and I don't know what it is. So we'll see.
Teresa Dean says it was a pygmy cow, and Mr. Rain wants to know who won the fights.
She does always.
No, I actually can't remember.
Usually, whichever one of us needed to realize all we were doing was being stubborn.
Yeah.
And then that person says, I'm sorry, I was being stubborn, and the other one says, me too, and everything's fine with the world again. But I mean, that's about the most I can ever remember about
and what's more,
any kind of fight we've ever had.
And what's more, any little disagreements, we never, ever bring up anything from the past.
Yeah. Faye, I probably have a habit of doing that every day or every other day. Now, earlier today, a video that I haven't even gotten around to shooting but need to shoot was me getting a couple tomatoes started, and in the process of that, we got together. Well, I got the pieces for the seed wicking starting tray I showed you guys last year. And I really do like that thing, and I had Brandon clean it up and get it ready for use this year, and I went out and I filled it with dirt, and so I had dirt under the fingernails. Mm-hmm. So that's about that.
No wins in a fight among couples, it's a compromise. Not always. And usually a lot of fights I've seen between other couples, you can be detrimental to their relationship. So
yeah, I think if I were to have to say it, usually, and that is as generic and dangerous as generic statements can be.
Yep.
But somebody was wrong. It was probably not because of their opinion, or it was probably because of their attitude.
Mr. Rand says, Heidi and I have been married for 27 years and I still wear the pants in the family. Whatever that means. I still run from her.
Probably means she puts the pants out and he wears them. I always liked that joke. But usually somebody's wrong. And it's a matter of then whoever was trying to correct that person, it can go either way on who gets upset first. Either the person who was trying to provide correction might get upset because the other person's being so stubborn, and that's where the fight really starts, or the person who didn't think they were wrong gets mad that the other person dare correct them about something, and that's when the fight starts. But I would say that usually the fight got started somewhere, and hopefully you're an adult enough and secure enough in your relationship that when your temper calms down, you can realize, you know what, I was wrong. This wasn't a fight, but I need to share this as an example.
Yes, sir.
We were working on the big garden, and this was 2 or 3 seasons ago, where we actually tried to put up a fence around the garden. And I was trying to do Pythagorean theorem and get everything going, and I was convinced I knew that I had things right and it was going to be on the square. Now Jennifer, at that point, being married to me, let's say it was 12 years, let's say it was 3 years ago, so it'd be 12 years of marriage, knew me well enough to gently say, "Are you sure that's right?" Trying to make me say, "Well, I'm not sure. What are you seeing?" But I didn't say that.
He was positive it
was
right.
right. I've done it 100 times. I know how to do a square corner. And so she backed off. And then we started putting up fence, and by the time we got to the next corner, it was wrong. And I had to swallow my pride and say, "I'm sorry, Jennifer. You knew something about that last corner, didn't you?" "Yep." "Okay, I'm calm. Help me with this." And from that point on, she knew and I have to go back and say, I was already frustrated in the project because normally we're perfectly fine. She would just interject and say, "Jared, that's not right. You know, you're off by this number," or something like that. That'd be a perfectly fine conversation for us 99.9% of the time.
Most of his projects, I'm actually usually right there. So if there is something, because we're both very intelligent people, but we're both... I'm good at some things and he's good at others. So usually it's a matter of being very able to, "That's wrong, it needs to be done this way." He was already mad. I wasn't stepping on that cactus.
Yep. So she tested the waters, realized, nope, it was as hot as I thought it was, backed off, and gave me a chance to cool down and fix it. But so I give that as an example on how any kind of disagreement has ever happened in our relationship.
Most of it
has always come down to one of us saying, "I'm sorry, I was wrong." And then the other person usually has to say, "I'm sorry, I got so upset." And we move on. But anyway, let's see here.
Rule number 1, Mama is always right. Rule number 2, in the event Mama is wrong, see rule number 1.
Well,
there have been times I have been wrong, and I have admitted it.
Yep. But
yes, Susan, you can use that saying.
Stepping on a cactus?
Yes.
That's funny. Well, you know, one thing I have thought about doing a video of is I got another friend. He's not part of the Homestead Network. His name's Blake Kirby. I know you've all heard me talk about him on other videos before. And he recently did a Q&A video. He did one ahead of time telling people he wanted questions. And they put questions down in the comments, and then he turned around and did like a 45-minute long answer video. I don't really want to do that, but it made me think about doing a video specifically to say, what do you guys want to see on the homestead this year? What kind of videos are you more interested in? Like the one viewer earlier saying, well, would you do more Minecraft videos? You know, would you show us more of your builds? Would you do more Q&As? You know, see whether or not there was anything there that I could use as guidance on what type of video to show you. Because here's what I usually run into. We're fixing to have a whole bunch of things growing. And week to week, they don't grow very much. And so some people will come in and say, well, Jared, can you do a garden walkthrough? And I'm like, why?
There's nothing growing.
There's nothing there. It's just plants and maybe a bloom here or there. It's like... But, I mean, if that's what people want to see, then heck, I'll show it to you. But that's the reason I don't do it on my own. Because for me, I drive home and, oh, look, there's the garden. And so, nothing's really changed. And sometimes it can be hard because, we go out there at dinner time and we harvest some things. And then when it comes time to shoot videos, there's not even anything there to show you because we've already eaten it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that's something I've thought about doing, kind of toying around with it and seeing where it goes. 2-minute warning, still 28-20. I don't know. NFL didn't give me any license or permission to give any accounts of the game, so I might be shut down from YouTube after today. I never understood that. Have you ever heard? If y'all have ever watched any NFL, they always do this disclaimer where you can't, where it says, you know, no accounts of the game without permission of the NFL. And I'm just sitting there wondering, what do they go around to every office building the day after and file lawsuits because I talked about the game? Like, no accounts of the game, none. You can't. Don't. It didn't even happen unless we allow you to say it happened. Oh well. Oh well. Well, I'm struggling, folks. Unless you've got another question or something else you want to talk about, we've got about 2 minutes left. So make sure you get it in now. And then make sure that you head over to, what was it with the Dutch now?
Keeping
It Dutch.
Keeping It Dutch.
So make sure you head over and check out Dutch's channel. And...
Nope.
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 Are we all talking about relationships now?
Yep.
I tell you.
And ticks.
Well, if you're in a good relationship, you can check for ticks. I mean, I'm not sure if that's where y'all were going.
Family friendly.
I'm not sure if that's where y'all were going.
It was not.
That is family friendly. Ain't nothing like healthcare to keep a family together. Oh well. We'll certainly have a lot more to talk about next week. Hopefully, I will stay out of the hospital and generally have a good doctor visit.
Hopefully, you better.
I better. Mama's orders. This is where Tommy's thing comes in. Mama's right. I better.
Now, you see, I had a friend that jumped in to volunteer to watch the kids and my dog for the entire 3 days he was in. I had another friend jump in and volunteer to watch the house and the animals that were still here while he was in. And I slept by this man's side despite having a migraine the first night.
Yep.
So.
I felt so bad, y'all, because I would sit there and Jennifer would, she'd fight with the chair and finally get it the way she wants it, and she'd lay down, and then I would think of something where I'm like, oh, I wish I had her grab this. I wish I had asked for that. Sweetheart. And I feel like all she wants to do is help me. She's ready to serve me in any way, capacity I need, and that's why she's there. But I feel like a horse's tail asking for her help. I don't know. Anyway. All right.
It looks like everyone else is leaving ready to go before we are.
All right, folks. We'll have a whole bunch of videos coming out on YouTube this week. Several things that you haven't seen before. We get our planting season started. And Tracy is starting a video series. So make sure you check that out and encourage her so she keeps up with it. I'd like to see her make a good solid effort of it throughout the whole year. So, and she's filming it and doing the work. Daddy's doing the editing. I just asked her if she wanted to have a playlist on YouTube this year, and she said sure, and jumped right to it. So, so anyway, keep a lookout for that. Thank you all for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.